Hey guys, Whitey Apps here. I've been noticing something recently, and I see quite a bit of people talking about it, so I figured I would just give my 2 cents in. And it feels like more Gen Z guys are starting to move toward Christianity and religion in general. Obviously, not everybody. I know that the statistics are, not necessarily the greatest in terms of that regard, but that's not what this video is about. I'm not going to break down the statistics and all the research for this video. There's a million other videos on the internet you can find for that. I'm just here to give my perspective as a Gen Z male who is in this space, who is in this world, kind of navigating it, and just give my thoughts on it and explain kind of what I think the roots and some of the conditions for this are. So we'll just go ahead and get right into it. So I think the biggest one right now is a sense of identity. I think that especially amongst the young Gen Z, there was such an emphasis in school, and I felt this, and I definitely have noticed this. There is such an emphasis in hating yourself and hating your heritage, and this idea that you can't be proud of your ancestors because they did awful things to whoever it was, and you cannot have any pride in that, and Christianity is bad because of all the things that Christians have done throughout history. And that was just the overall vibe that was kind of portrayed and taught in schools and kind of just in the world in general. There was a lot of craziness happening. 2010s was the new atheist movement, where a lot of millennials were stepping away from church, bringing their children with them. And so it's just a very interesting kind of backdrop for what we're seeing now. Another reason for this, I think, is because as a younger Gen Z is looking into history and trying to break down the narrative that was given to us, we're realizing just how much Christianity has really influenced the world and how much it has progressed and really kept hold of the world that we had, and also too, especially in America, we are a Christian nation. We were founded by Christians of different denominations, and that's a whole other discussion for another time. But the founding fathers were literally 20-year-old, early teens, late 20s, Christian men who were willing to die for their freedoms. And I think that as American young men specifically, again, most of this is going to be young men, but specifically as they've begun to look into history, to break down narratives, that everything is becoming more and more realizing that I was lied to. That's not what this is all about. They're seeing the pains and sufferings of the world today, and not to sound emotional or sappy, but I think that's a big thing, is they're seeing all the confusion in the world today. I think that they're seeing heartache and all these different things, and they're looking for something greater than themselves. They're looking to something bigger than them, something that is eternal and something that is going to outlast them and give them a set of structure and guidelines, especially because, again, with the millennial parents kind of in the new atheism movement, they left church and kind of just didn't have as much structure. Now, obviously, I'm speaking in very broad generals here. Every situation is going to be different. I recognize that some people are leaving the Roman Catholicism and Orthodoxy for Protestantism. I'm not blind to that. I'm just saying, in general, I'm seeing a growth and a increase of young men converting to Christianity, and I think it's a wonderful thing. I think there's also a return to traditional values, as we've seen the long-term effects of things like the Civil Rights Movement, the sexual revolution of the 1970s. I think that a lot of it is things that the boomers and the Gen X and the millennials just aren't going to be at the receiving end of, like Gen Z and Gen Alpha will be. It's very interesting when you look at it. They were trying to get the Bible out of schools. They were trying to remove Christianity from the public school system, and then look at what happened to the public school system after that point. As someone who wants to be a teacher, it's very, very interesting looking at kind of the history of education throughout America, and kind of as it begins to fall and decline into what it is now. And now you've got people, telling kids that are in developmental stages, early developmental stages, and incredibly susceptible, that they need to be a boy or they need to be a girl or be different from what they were born as, or we're going to put you on period and hormone blockers because you play with trucks instead of dolls. I mean, like, just look at California. I know that there are good people in California, but I mean, it is what it is. You know what I mean? I'm not going to sugarcoat it. And so that's just kind of my thoughts as well, is I think that as young men are seeing the outcomes of a lot of these different events, they're starting to question, was this really the best thing for America? And I think it's also just building something solid. They're realizing that the foundation built on sand, and everyone is, perfect and good in their own ways, and, love everybody. I think that that's beginning to fall apart. They need the rock that is Christ in their life, and I'm grateful to see that. To see that return to tradition, to the values that originally built this country and that led to the settlements of this country and the expansion of this country. And I'm just so proud, like it excites me beyond measure to see this, and there's a lot more that I can get into with this, and I want to keep this video short, but it just feels like a great cultural shift is coming. I think that between the America First movement and the return to traditional Catholicism and Orthodoxy, to traditional Christianity, I think that in a few years, we're going to see a completely different America, and I'm so excited. I tell my wife all the time, I'm like, it sucks right now, but I'm so excited to see what America is going to look like in the next 20, 30, 50 years because of our generation. Like I said in my last video, we are in the hard times that are building the good and strong men, and we're seeing the foundations of that come from the churches. And I'm just so excited. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Like and subscribe if you agree. If you disagree, let me know in the comments. I read every comment so far. I've really appreciated the comments that I've been getting on my videos. I'm trying a new method with my microphone and recording, so I hope the audio is a little bit better and that people can stop criticizing me for my microphone. And until then, God bless and have a wonderful day. I pray for all of you, and know that you are loved by God, even if you don't believe in Him, because He believes in you and what you can become. All right, bye.